Hey guys, thanks for tuning back into the channel. Today I want to talk about a bait that was very controversial when it first came out, and you're not hearing too much about it these days. So I kind of want to get your take on whether or not you think that the same restrictions on this bait should be still in place, or is it time to move on and say, you know what, we should start using the bait in tournaments and more across different states. And before I get into this bait, guys, I want to point out that if you're not a subscriber to the channel yet, you need to do so that you're entered into my monthly prize drawings for different sponsor prizes. You know, we give away beef jerky, we give away fishing reels, fishing baits, a lot of different stuff I'm handing out every month. And in order to be entered, all you have to do is subscribe to the channel, and at that point you are entered moving forward as long as you're a subscriber. So guys, if you have not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. And you know, just keep watching, guys. I appreciate each and every one of you that are watching on a regular basis. The channel continues to grow, and we're giving out a lot of good tips, a lot of helpful information. I'm getting a lot of really good positive feedback that people are utilizing the tips to catch more fish, and that's what this is all about. So to get into today's topic, I want to talk about this bait, the Alabama rig, right, guys? So, you know, it came out a while ago. I'm going to say like probably 6-7 years ago at this point. Andy Paas created the first A-rig and sold it off demands. And then at that point, it seemed like there were tons of custom bait makers. A lot of different companies came out with different versions of the Alabama rig or the umbrella rig. And, you know, it immediately started winning a lot of tournaments. When the bait first came out, it actually was introduced, I believe, the first major tournament was a Toyota series, or at that point it was a Costa, or it might even be like a Everstart tournament at Lake Gunnersville, and the top guys were all throwing the Alabama rig. And this was a late in the year tournament. It was like a fall event, and lots of TVA tournaments started being won on the Alabama rig. And it was a really tough bait to get. I mean, I remember I ordered, as soon as they went on the market, I ordered 3 of them from Andy Paas, the original maker. And when I got them, I think they were $25 each. When I got them, I could have sold them on eBay for like $100 a pop, but they were too valuable to me where I kept them. I've still got them on the wall. I don't even know if I've ever thrown the actual true original Alabama rig, just because when I got it, our fishing season was over. I want to say I got it in September or October, so I just kind of put it on the wall for the following year. And at that point, there were lots of other different versions out, and I had a bunch of those as well. But it was almost like I didn't want to use the original because it's like a collector's item. And at this point, I don't think it's worth anything now. So it was another bad investment where I should have capitalized and sold it. Like baseball cards or Beanie Babies, you name it, things that have lost their value. But so to get back to the Alabama rig, it started winning so many tournaments that organizations from local level up to professional levels banned it and didn't make it legal. Across the country, there are different regulations by state. Some allow as many arms as you want, and you know, arms and baits and teasers. Others, like here in Wisconsin, you're allowed to have 3 baits, 3 hooks. It just varies. And I think that was part of the issue. It created a lot of uncertainty going from one tournament to another across different state lines, and people didn't know. The state regulations didn't really have a good definition as to what an umbrella rig was. So they didn't know how to enforce the bait. So it created a lot of issues. And I think that was a big reason a lot of the tournaments banned the bait, alongside with people saying that it was like cheating because so many tournaments were being won on it. The thing is, when the bait came out, it was in the fall. You know, the fall and early spring, which is kind of the best time to use the bait, from fall through winter into early spring. And because that's the time of year that the bait excels, we saw a lot of people doing well on it. it really seems like if the productivity of the bait falls off significantly from the spawn period through the summer and back into the fall. So, did we kind of jump to conclusions at that point and say, hey, it's like cheating, let's just ban the bait, along with the fact that there were state regulation questions? I think both of those combined led to, tournaments saying, you know what, we shouldn't be throwing this, or we shouldn't allow it. So, I guess the question I have now is, that was 6-7 years ago. At this point, there's still some tournaments that allow the Alabama rig, but we do not see it being nearly as dominant as it was early on, even in those events. I know there was a recent, I'm trying to think what it was. I think it was the Lake of the Ozarks tournament that was just won there. It was a Toyota Series event, and that was one on the Alabama rig. But you're still not seeing like everyone using it to dominate in any of those tournaments. And I think that's for a couple of reasons. One, I think the fish have become accustomed to it, so it's not something so new, and I think they're familiar with it, and they're not as readily willing to bite the bait. And I think at the same time, if it's not during those prime windows, it's not necessarily the best bait going. It's definitely not cheating by any means. So, I think at this point, in my opinion, what I would like to see moving forward is us bring the bait back into tournament competition, even at the professional level. I think there needs to be some pretty good regulations, though, as to what you can use. I think 3 arms, a maximum of 3 baits, or even if you want to limit it to 1 bait with 3 arms, I'm okay with that. I do not think you should be able to use, some 12-armed bait. Like I know early on at Beaver Lake, we had an event where guys were hooking 2 of them together and throwing rigs that had like 9 or 10 baits on it and doing really well in that event. But I don't personally think it's like cheating. I think it's like any other bait where you need to realize the best places and times of year and patterns to utilize it to catch fish on it. It's not, you just don't put it on and catch fish, that's for sure. I do think you catch some really, really good quality fish, but I've had lots of days throwing it in the past, and I really don't even throw it much anymore. It's not like it's a favorite bait of mine, but I have caught some giant fish on it. But I've also had a lot of days where you throw it all day and you only get 2 or 3 bites. Now, they might be better quality, but it's only 2 or 3 bites. I catch a lot more fish on other baits. So I think they should allow it back into tournaments just because it's another tool. And when I compare it to some of the other recent developments in fishing, like the active target with Lowrance and other forward-facing sonar, guys, that is way more like cheating than throwing an Alabama rig. I mean, to be able to scan around, see a fish that's completely the opposite direction from where you've been throwing, to scan over there and cast to it and catch that fish on a cast you'd never make before, in my opinion, is a way better tool than an Alabama rig where you're just fishing, what you normally would be fishing, or throwing a different bait. I mean, it's not like you're changing where you're fishing because you're throwing the Alabama rig. You're just throwing an Alabama rig instead of a different bait. With forward-facing sonar, it's like watching a TV, and you don't even need to cast at times. You can just scan around and be like, hey, there's 2 fish over there. I mean, I haven't even been using it long. I mean, I've had it for 2 events now, the active target. And at Smith Lake, it was unbelievable to me. Like, it was truly, truly unbelievable to me to see how advantageous that sonar unit and that transducer can be. I've never felt that way about the Alabama rig. Like, when it came out, I definitely thought, hey, this is a really good bait, but it doesn't change the way I fish. The active target changes the way we fish. Like, it's a definite different thing. I know there's been a lot of questions over the years. People say it harms the fish. I mean, I understand that there might be a couple of hooks swinging around, but if you limit it to, say, 3 arms, 3 single hooks, there's only 3 hooks compared to, hey, throwing a jerkbait, you got 3 treble hooks with 9 points on it. So, like, to me, I don't know that there's a huge argument there. I can't say I've ever caught a fish on an Alabama rig where I killed the fish because he had 3 hooks, you know, around his dorsal fin. I've definitely had fish swallow a crankbait where they've got three hooks of a treble hook down their gullet, and I've probably ended up seriously harming that fish because he ate the crankbait so good. You're not going to have that with an Alabama rig. So I don't really feel like that's a strong argument. I agree that the further hooks can swing around, you're going to snag some fish in the back, or, you know, you'll definitely hook them. That happens with the Alabama rig. But, you know, guys, I just feel like at this point, the sport needs to reevaluate the bait and look at, you know, tournament results of recent years, look at, you know, the bait as a whole and say, hey, is this truly cheating in some form or fashion? Is it a bait that gives an angler more of an advantage than, say, you know, fishing a ledge tournament during the summer on the TVA where I'm throwing, you know, 90% of the field's throwing a crankbait. They're different crankbaits, but it's still a crankbait. You know, in the pre-spawn late winter period, everyone might be throwing an Alabama rig, but it's all just, you know, different Alabama rigs. But if everyone's doing it, it's fair for the field to do. So to me, I think we should bring the bait back, allow tournaments to utilize it. And I think we'll see that it's not being thrown nearly as much as it did that first 6 months after it came out, because that was the prime season to throw it. A lot of the tournaments we're having these days, guys, aren't even during that period. So what's your opinion? Let me know. I'm really interested in knowing. Leave a comment. Let me know if you think it should continue to be banned, if it should be allowed, different regulations that they could put in place on the umbrella rig to allow us to utilize it again in tournaments. Yeah, I'm interested. Let me know what you guys have to say. If you enjoy the video, like it, share it on your social media. And if you have not subscribed yet, guys, hit that subscribe button. New videos coming out every day. Thanks for watching.